Why is it that the sun and the air makes us feel so good? It's because it provides us to what we need to thrive, and not just live, but thrive. It's like these primitive feelings that we obtain from being underneath the sunlight on a nice, moderately warm day, 75 degrees right now in sunny California. It's the end of March. It's been 2 years since I've had a solo shrooms trip. And this trip really completely changed me in the way I thought about myself and my beliefs and who I was and what I was trying to do with my life. It provoked inspiration and the need to look for some type of truth that made sense to me. I recently wrote a letter. Not recently, I recently read a letter that I wrote 2 years ago. And this was to my dad. And if you've watched any of my last 2 videos, either one of them, you know that there's a complicated relationship that I have with my dad right now. If you want more details, watch the Moving Forward video, parts 1 and 2. It's one of the last videos that I uploaded myself. I wrote this letter to him because of the things that I was feeling back then. And it confirmed to me that everything that I was feeling back then is everything that I'm feeling now. And that things haven't changed. The way I felt hasn't changed about my dad. My dad is unfortunately a narcissist. Sorry about the loud cars. I just happen to live in this reality where he is a narcissist, and this is just the timeline that I live in, and I have to accept it. And I'm not sure 100% how I want him in my life. I'm not sure if I'm going to fully cut him off, if I'm going to have like a polite, casual relationship with him. But first and foremost, my brother and I agreed that we're going to do therapy because of the emotional and verbal abuse that we received from him. And we observed him treat my mom the same way. My mom is a very bubbly, nice woman. She's spacey, yes, and sometimes she can piss you off. And she doesn't use common sense at times. But she's a loving woman, and my dad took advantage of her. And that's just the truth. All 3 of us, my mom, my brother, and I, we all experienced the same abuse. It might have been different because we're all different people and we all had a slightly different relationship with my dad, but in a sense, it's all the same. When it comes to the relationship with my dad, I think the thing that hurts the most about it is that he's my dad. And I don't know what to do because I feel like the relationship you have with your father or just any parent is a sacred bond, like a sacred relationship. And if that relationship doesn't fall under a specific archetype, then you fall victim to these negative consequences of feeling shamed and guilty for what you experienced through your trauma. And right now, I'm essentially withholding my dog from my dad, or withholding my dad from seeing my dog. My brother and I made this decision together. I think him and I just need time away from my dad. And even though my dad is willing to come pick up the dog, we don't want to see him because it requires us to have to communicate with him. You know, we love our dad too, but he's a narcissist, and those things don't really change, and the way he behaves now just seems manipulative in the sense that he knows that he can't display anger towards us because he knows it's not going to work anymore. He knows he can't yell at us like he used to because he knows that we're not intimidated by him. The child within me still feels scared of him, still feels afraid to tell him something because I'm afraid of how he's going to react. I feel like various occasions tripping on shrooms, I thought about my dad and my relationship with him. And my thought trains never really went much farther than what I can remember because they're difficult feelings to feel. I think if you've ever tripped on psychedelics yourself, or even if you haven't, you can apply this to your own life, that when you're on an uncomfortable thought train, a lot of times you're trying to distract yourself from that thought train and trying to lead yourself towards something more positive. I don't know if that's necessarily healthy or not. It depends on how you handle it or cope with it. But it's important to acknowledge these negative or uncomfortable feelings that may present or arise. Otherwise, they're never going to truly go away. I think the issue with that regarding my dad is that these feelings are never truly going to go away. And recently I've been contemplating whether or not I want to do a psychedelic trip and do it on my own terms, on my own journey with nobody else around. But I'm just unsure of that because I don't know how I'll be able to handle it. Or I don't know what intention exactly to put into it, what I'm really looking for out of a psychedelic trip, because yes, it could be beneficial for you to address some heavy shit going on, but it might also just make things worse. And I'm at a point in my life where I feel no need to trip again. I think I'll probably trip again in the future, but I'm not sure when. I think a big key theme to my life right now is my relationship with my father and my brother too, and how that factors into my relationship with my father. But what my brother and I are doing is we're essentially taking back the power that was stolen from us. We had no power over my dad. He dominated us, essentially, kept us from opening up to him. He would blame us for everything. I think if I were to trip on shrooms, I feel like 90% of what I would think about is my dad. And I'd probably sit there and cry it out by myself. I mean, is there a problem with that? No. But the thing is, on shrooms, you seem to be more vulnerable to like a collective consciousness almost. And with that collective consciousness, you feel all these different feelings that other people may feel, like almost like a collective despair. But you could also feel like a collective euphoria as well. But I don't know if I would find myself being euphoric. during a psychedelic trip that I would hypothetically partake on. I think the more and more I come to terms with my relationship with psychedelics, I think like I went the wrong way about it. That I did it for recreational purposes, to enjoy myself out in nature with friends, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it kind of stunts the potential self-growth that could take place if you trip alone in a setting where you're allowing yourself to have to face uncomfortable shit. Because it's not all about fun and games, you know? You have to face the darkness within you. And a lot of times it's hard to do those things. It's officially springtime and the days are getting longer and they're already getting warmer. I think fall and winter are excellent seasons to self-reflect because they are like a natural representation of death. And when the spring comes around, it's that natural representation of life and rebirth. With summer rolling around and you feel those long, hot days, but you try to enjoy it as much as you can. I think the spring and summer are really important for developing social connections. In the winter, I was really craving a lot of alone time. And I was kind of neglecting that part of myself that was craving that alone time. I was hanging out with my brother a lot. I was hanging out with my friends a lot, Will and our other friend. Hanging out with my girlfriend. But the thing is, I wasn't prioritizing the relationship that means the most. And that's myself. And as much as that may sound selfish, we all need to develop a relationship to where we love ourselves, because if we can't love ourselves, it's difficult to be able to reciprocate love to other people. You have to be confident with who you are. And I don't really have any advice on how to maintain confidence in your life, because to be honest, my confidence fluctuates throughout the day and how I feel about the decisions that I've made, about the things I could have done better throughout the day. But life moves on, and eventually you just have to focus on what matters most in the present moment. Work on yourself. Take time to relax if you need to. But after relaxing, work on yourself. Work on things that bring you joy. You may or may not relate to the things I'm saying. If you don't, that's okay. I still appreciate you if you made it this far. Life is just something that we're not going to fully understand. It's just a constant cycle of having to overcome adversity. Life, death, rebirth cycle. There's a reason why the inner child within me, I still crave that love and affection from my dad. It's just a part of the system of life that's been put in place. I'm just this human living in some type of creation. I don't know what else to call it. It just seems like a creation. Others might call it a simulation. Everything was created. Anyways, I think that's all I really need to talk about today. Thank you for listening. Alex from PSYCHONAUT Visions signing out.